Welcome to You Can't Make This Shit Up. Dan DeCero, Joel Hoxley, Kellen Clark. We're your hosts today and your political innovators here in Central Florida. And today we're talking about roads.
Oh,
Dan,
come on. You give it so you what kind of introduction is that? Roads. Like we're not talking about roads. We're talking about radioactive roads. We're talking about
I forgot to
glow
mention
in the
that.
dark. We're talking about glow in the dark possibilities as far as these liberals are talking. Like, oh my God, the world's coming to an end because some company wants to, pave the roads with the chemical, called phosphogypsum.
Joel, tell us more about phosphogypsum. What is it? Where does it
Why?
come
Our
from?
audience might want to know about phosphogypsum because it's a byproduct of a phosphate fertilizer production process. It is primarily composed of calcium sulfate dihydrate, which is CaSO4 2H2O, with small amounts of impurities such as fluoride, phosphate, and other trace elements. Uh, Phosphogypsum is generated when phosphate rock is treated with sulfuric acid and produced phosphoric acid, which is then used in the production of phosphate fertilizer. Now you have the impurities that we want to talk about because we always talk about recycling. The Democrats talk about how wonderful it is if we could recycle stuff. So you get these gypsum piles that you can't do anything with. Or now this company says, what if we try to put it into roads, use it in the process of paving, and they're going to pave a small road that goes to their facility. So it's not like we're taking I-4 and putting this stuff out there. The argument is it does have radioactive elements that are probably higher than the typical radioactivity that you get from a daily dose.
While the sentiment, that was a rock joke, um,
Yeah, I got you. I got
of
that one.
recycling,
The sediment.
of
Sediment.
the sediment,
You got
the
you got came
sentiment.
close.
um, while it's nice to think that like this is recycling, I do question why the EPA is then so concerned. And I think that we can say it's a smaller amount than what is normally acceptable, but also it's 300 tons,
Dan, Dan,
which
no, Dan, the EPA is not the one challenging this. It's the lawmakers asking the EPA to stop this from happening. The EPA hasn't made a decision.
The EPA, I mean, they've moved against this stuff way in the past, like in the 90s. Say way in the past, I'm going to show my age there. Um but
Before you
now
were
but now
born, I got you.
yeah, before I was born. But now they are re-evaluating it. And the fact is we don't know for certain what result this would bring. If it was perfectly safe, it would be, a great source to use our waste for something productive. That would be awesome. However, I am skeptical of this because not only are can impurities such as uranium and radium taint these, which I don't care how small the quantity is, even like little bits in paint is enough to make a noticeable difference over a long enough period of time. But that also decays, and I mean, uranium decay kills so many people per year in the form of radon gas. So, and while that wouldn't be a concern outdoors, it does raise a lot of questions to the safety. How we are testing, but how are we going to have the confidence to build roads at this? I don't know.
We are testing one road, and we are already talking about the so the whole point is how's it going to affect the water? How's it going to affect the air? Uh, you're going to get rain on it. Is that going to do anything? And I think that where where the company's looking at is it's still no good to have phosphate stacks. I mean, what's the difference between, storing them in, they're still leaking, they're still getting wet, they're probably actually more exposed as they are right now, but it's because we're putting them in public roads? Is that where it really becomes an issue? Do we not think that maybe the companies looked at the fact that when you add it chemically to blacktop, that it breaks down? I mean, I don't think they're going on a whim. Company's not going on a whim and saying this is not impossible. They're saying the possibility is we won't have to hurt the environment by doing this. I mean, do you have what do you say there?
Well, I definitely think that it's the company is doing right by proceeding with caution, and I think that as long as nothing is, 'cause I understand what you're saying about, it being a hazard regardless of whether or not it's put into roads. I do think that as long as the necessary steps are followed for this um, to be put into play, then I think, as long as everyone is doing their part to ensure the safety of other people, then I think that we should be proceeding with caution. So, obviously that's why we're talking about it. So,
Well, I
A-
mean, go
And
ahead.
I
I didn't mean
and
to
I
cut you
agree.
off.
I mean, testing is important to see. The thing is, testing this itself will be a difficulty. Minor amounts of radiation exposure, the effects that it brings are over such long periods of time that we won't know for decades. We won't know for certain for decades. And I have just a it's just a bad feeling that after a couple years they're gonna push it on. That then they're gonna push it on to the public and say, well, in the past few years it hasn't caused any problems. Well, neither
Well,
did neither
it's
did
been
Fiestaware. I mean, Fiestaware people were fine for a long time. This this quite bright, colorful ceramic. But eventually, over time, it was discovered to be a hazard, but just not in a large enough quantity to where we noticed it immediately. We didn't even notice it for decades. Eventually, we noticed and we took note and we stopped it. But I'm not certain if I have the confidence that we are going to test for that full period of time to ensure it. That's my only concern. Like, if we do everything ideal, perfect. But I'm not convinced that we will.
so when phosphate gypsum is used in certain applications such as construction material and agriculture, it can introduce a level of radioactivity into those products.
Yes.
However, granite and stone countertops, some natural stones, including granite, they have radioactivity. You got smoke detectors in your home that you're asked to make sure that you change out every single year. You have ionization type smoke detectors that contain small amounts of radioactive material. So you're in your home, in your business. Bananas and potassium. Bananas contain a naturally occurring radioactive
Yeah.
isotope of potassium. And then let's see, ceramic and pottery, like you were talking about, has has uh, has it. Older antique items have it. Plus, they have lead, some of them. And then our
Delicious.
fertilizers that we've been using, that we're eating the products that are coming from those fertilizers, and now we're just trying to say, why don't we use this in one more? I mean, the levels are the same as the other products that I just talked about. So, what are we going to do? We're going to tell people that they can't have bananas because
Yes.
of.
is
Okay, well, yeah, I
is
guess we
the is the amount of radiation from bananas the same as in?
No. Not exactly. It's
every rad is different. So
Oh,
so the
absolutely.
one thing that, if you took a Geiger counter to a banana, yes, it's going to activate. So,
It will.
okay, but will the Geiger counter go above a certain level? Look, there are people that are exposed to more radioactivity every single day than this road is ever going to get people exposed to. When
Of
you still
course.
have X-rays, you still have mammograms, you have all these different medical procedures that have way higher doses of radioactivity. So I think this is I think this is a big non-issue. I like the fact that we can talk about radioactive roads, but
It's fun.
our car batteries are getting to the point where they're more dangerous than they should ever be, and they're to expose to dispose of those is a hazard in itself.
Of
So
course,
I
of
love the
course.
fact that these guys want to cry wolf, or not wolf, but they want to cry that the sky is falling. But you can't do anything unless you test it, and we only testing a small portion of the road. And the only reason it's a big deal is because this company paid to lobby for this rule. This rule has been passed by the governor, and now you have people going and reaching out to the EPA. It's a non-issue if they get it passed and they don't spend any money.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, radioactivity has long been a fear of Americans. Most like, it was something like half Americans still don't trust nuclear power despite being safer than fossil fuels tend to be right now. And you are right when you say that most products, like bananas, even humans, like if you sleep next to a partner at night, joke's on you, they're radioactive. But but the amounts on those products do differ. Like we talked about Fiesta ware, which was a very popular dish set. It was a ceramic base with these bright, bold colors.
Listen, I have plenty of it around my house still. It's not like we're throwing it away.
Well, I mean, good for you. It's not. It tends to not be a good. Studies have shown over decades, many decades, like pretend, like kind of like 100-ish
We're,
years,
listen, we're
shown
not
that
using it. We're not using it for dinner, but we have plenty
yeah,
of it. So you
yeah. I mean,
understand that.
and the more you store it behind, the better. But the thing was, everybody thought that that was perfectly fine. I mean, by all means, why would we suspect that paint? I mean, why would we suspect a lot of paint to be
It's
dangerous?
not. It's not necessarily in the paint. It's also in. It's in the ceramic itself.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's in all of it. And
rocks are radioactive, my friend.
radioactive planet. And people do expose themselves every day to unnecessary amounts of radiation. And I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to say that we don't already put ourselves in greater harm than what this road could possibly provide to us. But that doesn't mean I want even more, you know. At the end of the day, more is more, by the way I see it. More is more. And even if it's not a lot more, it is still more. And I don't want to live in a world where we keep pushing our luck to see how radioactive we can make everything. I would rather live in a society where we'd rather avoid these risks if we can. I hope that when they test the roads that they give it a lot of time, like a lot of time, because if they push us through after a couple of years, I think they'll be doing a disservice to the public. I hope that they
We have allowed, so the governor has signed a bill that allows a small portion of land to be paved with this product. It is not a statewide thing, and I think I love the fact that the reporters are trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. And I have a rad idea. Let's address the real problems in society. You guys like that one. Come on, you had to like
it
that
was
one.
really funny, not gonna lie, it was good.
So, I I can't I can't imagine that. So let's go to nuclear power. I don't want to say it wrong because I don't want to be like castrated like our poor Nikki Haley last night. Oh, she got dogged on social media for that.
For the
But
nuclear.
no, it's I have trouble with that word too. It's not easy. Nuclear. You have to take two different words.
Yeah,
Oh,
nuclear.
it's George W. Bush all over again. Oh, but back to it. The reason that people fear the safest power, the safest power that we could generate on this planet is because of Chernobyl, because of accidents because human error was so they neglected the product so bad that
Yeah.
you had the meltdown, or You have Japan where an unexpected tsunami, the flooding and all this stuff happened. Those are extreme accidents. Those are extreme situations. But the safest energy producing product on this planet is what's
It's
the word I'm looking
demonized.
for? Yeah, demonized for no
It's
reason,
villainized.
for no reason other than the fact that piss poor performance of countries that didn't put the safeguards in place.
Yeah. To put this into perspective, this century has yet to have a nuclear accident. Just to put that into perspective, and I think I mentioned earlier that fear of radiation is something in our society, and I think that that is something that and there's something here's something you and I can definitely agree on, Joel. We do need to be more rational with radioactivity. People need to stop saying, "Oh my gosh, something's radioactive. We got to make a huge deal." I personally do agree. I've been partially playing devil's advocate that
Mhm.
the I think there's not too much harm in I don't think there's any harm in testing it. I mean, if we
Mhm.
give it enough time, we test it, it's good. I mean, that would be much better for the environment because we could use our waste. We do need to move away from hearing radiation and only envisioning the worst of it. We only make our when it's mentioned in entertainment, it's bombs or it's Chernobyl, you know, at the end of the day.
And
And nuclear
funny
power
thing
is the
is,
highest yield as well. That's another thing to consider. Is the highest yield power.
and,
So
and
it
right
would be
now, our biggest disservice to our nation or to our world is to not look at this as an aging process. These facilities need to be updated. We could create even better, cleaner production, and we just seem to have created so much fear because of the the devastating effects that can have. But it's like, put the safeguards in place, put the rules in place. This is where government regulation is the most important, and these are the places where the strictest regulations have always kept us out of trouble. You want to talk about a Republican that says, safety? This is a place where we, in the United States, have been safer than any other nation.
Yeah, I think identifying that line in the sand, and to your point, to make sure that we're being responsible and doing our best to put those safeguards in place, update these facilities, then I think maybe some of the stigmatism surrounding it might begin to fade after time. I know that it hasn't, currently, obviously, people are still terrified of it. But ultimately, I don't know if it's necessarily a trust of nuclear, the word. I think it's a trust of those who are in charge of it. And I think in a lot of cases it's more so like, can we trust our government to regulate things for us? And I think that some of that trust you know needs to be restored, for the American people. It's the fear of the unknown, and I think that a lot of um, people have trust issues with the government
I mean,
too. So
I hear that Homer Simpson does a bang up job at the plant. So if we had more people like him, I think our country would be better off.
Well, I mean, those are the, but see that again, but then that again is where this stuff comes from. Like, okay, it's humorous. Okay, that's great. It's funny, but it creates that fear. The one state that would benefit from this, from this energy alone, is the most energy, you know, desperate state, and with the most liberal population in California. California needs this product more than any other state, because they can't keep importing all this energy to maintain. They cannot continue on the path that they're going. But let's get back to radioactive roads. Let's
Oh,
make it
right.
happen. Let's make it happen. Let's not demonize the company for doing it. Let's test it, and let's stop playing games with radioactivity, because
Yeah.
I'm going to blow the top off of this thing, and we're going to expose these cowards that are trying to fight progress.
Or if the
Completely.
tests go poorly, prove them right. We'll just have to see. And
It
I'm very
if the
excited
rad
to see what we come out. I'm hoping that it comes out great.
if the rad don't fit, it must be quit. That one didn't go anywhere. Boom, bomb. Dan, take us
Ooh,
out of here. Where are we going
head
with
us
this?
out.
Uh, just make sure you like, subscribe, give us a follow on all of our socials, and thanks for watching. You can't make this shit up. This is a Jay in Washington production.